If you're watching this video, then you have likely seen a few before this and heard me use the word triggers. And a lot of people know what that means, but if you're not sure what that means or what I mean by when I say that, I'd like to give you a little bit of information. So triggers means activation of your thoughts and emotions in a disturbing way. And so sometimes that is thoughts and emotions on replay. Sometimes that's thoughts and emotions on replay and add in some kind of spiraling that feels like it's just going out of control and nowhere good. Maybe it feels a little bit like that thought train is headed for a wreck and you can't get off that train. And sometimes it means complete and total dysregulation, like you just can't get yourself together. You're crying, maybe your breathing's affected, maybe you feel like pressure on your chest or other physical bodily symptoms. Sometimes it's stomach disturbance or physical muscle pain, hurting shoulders, neck, back, that somehow relates to the way your body's holding your painful stories. And when you're triggered, you tense in those places and experience physical pain. And triggering sometimes makes no sense to your logical brain. So I often use the example, it's a story. Let's say you're a rape survivor and that's your trauma. And the rapist had a specific expression on their face that included a way they raised their eyebrows. Maybe it's 10 years ago and you just don't think of it that often. You've kind of stuffed it away and buried it, and it doesn't seem like a current issue anymore. It's in the past. You've tucked it away. And you're having lunch with a good friend, enjoying yourselves, having a good conversation, eating, drinking, laughing, talking. And the waiter comes up and is kind of joking with you. And all of a sudden you feel yourself I call it the heebie-jeebies. You just, like all of a sudden you just are uncomfortable in your body, in the situation. You feel like you just need to get out of there. And perhaps you do. Perhaps you leave the restaurant or you go to the bathroom or you just step outside for a minute. But you can't figure out what just washed over you and why you feel so dysregulated or so emotionally activated, and why your thoughts are racing, or perhaps why you feel suddenly so blank and like the extreme opposite, like you can't detect or name anything that's going on. You just know it doesn't feel good. Well, perhaps that waiter that was joking around had a similar way of raising their eyebrows. And so the eyebrow raise was the trigger that took you back to that experience of being raped, and your body and emotions and thoughts became very dysregulated. That's triggered in response to something, but you couldn't quite put your finger on what it was that happened that got you feeling so bad. So in therapy, sometimes we're able to connect the dots and help a person see, like, what was it that triggered. Another thing we do is look at helping people understand their own triggered state. Like what my response to being triggered is can be very different from your response to being triggered. And so we need to just personalize that and figure out what it is for you specifically so that you can develop awareness about when you're in a triggered state. And then we give tools to help you get out of that triggered state, and tools to help that happen less often and with less degree of severity or less degree of activation, and hopefully in time pretty much eliminate that. We often can't eliminate it entirely because partly our brain is trying to keep us safe when we're triggered. It's like all the alarm bells are going off, and that's why we have all those physical, emotional, and thought-based activation, is our brain alarm bells going off telling us fire, 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 like get safe. And so our brain's always going to try to keep us safe. So again, often we can't totally eliminate triggering, but we can reduce the frequency and severity of it markedly and give you the tools to handle it when it happens. First, by knowing, oh, this is me in a triggered state. 2, maybe this is what triggered me. 3, here's how I can get out of triggered. And the what triggered me and getting out of triggered don't always have to go in that order. Sometimes you can get out of it, be calmer, and then reflect on, oh, here's the way I can connect the dots. This is what got me triggered. And so I also want to just assure you that being triggered is a really normal human response. When a person goes through something that threatens them physically, life and death, socially, relationally, emotionally, then our nervous system goes into a mode of keeping us safe. Fight, flight, or freeze is what we generally call that. And we have that one response threat system that takes us to one of those three behaviors. It doesn't matter the source of threat. And so understanding that about ourselves can help us normalize our experience and get us out of that place where we feel broken or defective or beyond repair. Because I assure you that you are not broken and defective upon repair or beyond repair. You are simply a human having a normal human response to something a human never should have experienced.